Hello and welcome. My name's Andy Crook, and I'm your host for tonight's training topic on negotiating better deals for you and your customers. My mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. How I do that? I try to go live every week on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. This week, we're in the financial pillar, and we're talking about negotiating better deals. In this training topic, you will learn the 3 secrets used by the FBI during hostage negotiations to try and get better deals for your business. We're going to focus on these 3 secrets first, then we're going to move to the 3 levers in negotiations, and then we're going to try and give you a practical application or an example of where you could use these techniques. So without further ado, let's get on with tonight's training topic, all about negotiating better deals. The FBI, during hostage negotiations, have a number of tactics they can use that can help resolve any given situation. So we're going to look at 3 of those secrets or tactics in this training topic: tactical empathy, mirroring, and something called the "that's right" breakthrough. Tactical empathy goes beyond simply understanding someone's position. It's actively demonstrating that understanding as a strategic tool. Key aspects include active listening, giving your full attention to the reason behind what's being said; validation, acknowledging the position without judgment; and strategic response, using this understanding to guide the conversation productively. So tactical empathy isn't just simply understanding someone's position. It goes a little bit further beyond that, and the nuances are in the detail, if you like. And that's not only are you practicing what we would call active listening, you're going to try and understand the reason behind being said. And then you're going to validate the position without judgment. And that's key. You don't want to put your biases into the conversation. You want to understand what's being said to you and why, without judging. Very difficult to do. And then your strategic response is using that understanding to guide the conversation productively. So once you understand what's being said, why it's being said, you're then going to use that information to drive the conversation in a more preferred direction. Which brings us neatly on to mirroring. Mirroring is one of the simplest yet most effective techniques in the FBI negotiators toolkit. It involves repeating the last few critical words of what someone just said. This technique creates a psychological connection, encourages the other person to elaborate, buys you time to think, and can help draw out valuable information. You've probably heard of mirroring before, and you've probably understand that when you behave like someone, they warm towards you. I know a basic physical mirroring is if you stand in the same way, you repeat similar postures. That's one example of mirroring. This is about creating that psychological connection. And it's simply, in terms of negotiations, it's simply repeating the last few critical words of what someone said. So this goes back towards active listening. And if you're actively listening, you're giving your full attention to what's being said and understanding what's being said. It's much easier for you to repeat those last few critical words. And it's a very useful tool for getting someone to elaborate on what they've just said. So if you imagine you're in a hostage negotiation situation, the 1 or 2 of the parties are unlikely to want to give away valuable information. So one way to get them to say more than they intended to is to repeat the last few critical words. And what that does is loosens their tongue, if you like. You can be thinking about what they're about to say or what they're saying before you have to give a response. It gives you that little bit of extra time. And this is a critical technique for drawing out more information, because it's that not only have you got that psychological connection, it borrows a lot from the tactical empathy. You're now empathizing with that person, or it appears like you're empathizing with that person because you're repeating what they said. You're mirroring their position. And what this leads to, or can lead to, is the "that's right" breakthrough. And getting someone to say "that's right" is one of the most critical moments in a negotiation. It differs significantly from getting someone to say yes. When someone says that's right, it indicates they feel genuinely understood, that they've internalized and accepted the point, and they're psychologically aligned with you. A potential turning point has been reached when one or two of the parties are agreeing with each other. And the agreement isn't just a simple yes, it's saying the words you want to hear are, that's right. So they're the three sort of secrets I wanted to share with you that the FBI used during hostage negotiations to get better deals for your business. The tactical empathy, mirroring, and the that's right breakthrough. In practice, you can use tactical empathy and mirroring to trigger the that's right breakthrough by summarizing the situation as you see it, using their words, not your words. And when they respond with that's right, you've created a moment of genuine connection and agreement that serves as a foundation for constructive problem solving that's far more valuable than a reluctant yes. Which brings us on to the next element of our negotiations, and that's levers. And levers in negotiation are points of influence that can shift the balance of power to create movement in a stalled discussion. Or if this discussion hasn't started, they can create the basis of the starting point. You use a lever to get things moving. The three levers we're going to discuss for business deals are time, price, and terms. Effective negotiators don't just use levers, they actively create conditions where levers become more powerful while diminishing their counterpart's leverage, or they seek to balance leverage of both parties, resulting in a win-win situation. And that's the situation or the outcome we should always try to see. When we're negotiating for our business, we should always try and find the common ground, try and find that win-win situation. And it might be that we use one of our levers more, or we extend their leverage. What we're looking for is a win for both parties. And if we look into the three levers, time, price, and terms, let's break them down in a little bit more detail so that we can start to think about what I mean by those levers. What is a time lever? One of the things that I believe is that fast is nearly always better than free. Fast is nearly always better than free. Time is a finite resource and every minute is precious. But for some customers, time is more of a premium and they are willing to pay for it. And there are countless examples out there. For example, speedy boarding. People are willing to pay extra for speedy boarding. I've never understood that one, but it's a thing. Amazon, with their next day delivery, have more or less decimated the high street because fast is better than free. You were willing to pay for delivery because you absolutely need to get it the next day. And probably the greatest example of why fast is better than free is liposuction versus diet and exercise. Think about it. It's going to be faster if you have liposuction than months of diet and exercise with no guaranteed result. So think about when time or fast is a premium in your business. If you have fleet customers who incur a financial penalty, but every day their vehicle is unavailable, you can offer a fast track service for increased prices, offer a guarantee, and when you combine those two things together, a faster service with a guarantee, it would be stupid to say if the extra cost is less than the cost incurred, they would be doubly stupid to say. Is it time to renegotiate? What is time sensitive in your operations that you would be willing to pay a premium for? If you think about it, this is the basis of the bonus system. You are willing to pay more for fast. I'm not saying it's right, but that is the basis of the bonus system. As a business owner, you're willing to pay your staff more for fast. If you can put into the bonus system fast and good, probably want to pay a lot more. So think about what products and services are not so time sensitive. So you could negotiate better deals for less prompt delivery or charge less for work that could take longer. There's some examples of a time lever. The next lever we're going to discuss is price. Cost calculations and comparisons form the foundation of price negotiations. Before entering any discussion, do plenty of research to thoroughly understand your position and possibly the position of the person or persons you're negotiating with. Create models of your business and compare multiple scenarios, not just on price, but on the value delivered. Remember, price is what you pay, value is what you get. Calculate your costs and know exactly where you stand. This puts you in control of the negotiations. You already know what you can afford and still hit your financial goals. You also know what you are not willing to pay or where you're willing to cut corners. Remember that the cheapest option often proves costly in the long run through poor quality or unreliable service. Paying more might be better for your business if it ensures the levels of service and quality are equal to what you and your customers demand. Charging more will allow you to provide a better service for your customers. So they're the levers of price. And before using price as a lever, you must do some research. You must understand your position. And it's very good if you understand the person you're negotiating with's position. Remember what we said about tactical empathy. Understanding their position before the negotiation starts give you a much better position to start practicing empathy. So the final lever we're going to discuss is terms. Conditions, clauses, and consensus will determine the true value of any deal. The fine print often contains more financial impact than the headline price. Always seek favorable terms that result in a win-win situation for both parties. Remember that tactical empathy. Most terms are a one-size-fits-all solution that may not suit the best interests of both parties. A bit like the story of the newlyweds and the beef joint. If you don't know this one, I'll share it with you. So, the first Sunday after they got married, the husband sat at the dinner table eagerly awaiting the roast. When it arrived in the roasting pot, he noticed the end of the roasting joint had been cut off. He didn't want to say anything and he tucked into a delicious lunch. While they were doing the dishes, he asked his new wife, the beef was lovely, I've got to ask, why was the end of the joint cut off? And his wife shrugged her shoulders and said, I don't know. My mum always did it. We've always done it. And she simply then shrugged off the conversation. A few days later, she bumped into her mum and curiosity got the better of her. And she said to her, why do we always cut the end off the beef joint? My new husband's asked me. And her mum looked at her blankly and said, I don't know, love. We've always done it. So with that, her mother went to speak to her mother and said, why do we cut the end off the beef joint? And she laughed. And she said, oh, my love, you said, you're not going to believe this. She said, when we were first married, we had such a small oven that a beef joint wouldn't fit in it. So we always had to cut the end off. And that's typical of what happens, isn't it, in business? Because something always is done like that, it always gets done like that. And no one really stops and questions it. And this is what negotiation is about. It's about stopping and questioning, why do we always do it like that? Is there a better way? Is there a better way for both parties? And this is where the terms comes in. And so consider your customer type. Should your better customers get the same terms and conditions as your C and D type customers? If you are the customer, so if you are the customer in this transaction, what type of customer is your business to the businesses that you deal with? Have you ever asked, are you a good, are you an A type customer to the people that you deal with? Or you are a C or a D? It's worth thinking about. Negotiate concessions on common ground. If we do this, could you do that? Always have that empathy. Always understand the position of the other party. Remember that terms are often more negotiable than prices, particularly with established suppliers who value your long-term business. So by mastering these three aspects of negotiation and using the three levers of time, price, and terms, your garage can build stronger relationships with both suppliers and customers, while securing better deals, improving profitability, providing a better service to your customers' needs. So let's give you some practical examples of using the three levers of time, price, and terms and the negotiating tactics of the FBI. We're going to talk about where we can use tactical empathy, mirroring, and that's right. Remember, you have to do a little bit of research before this. But I'll give you a quick story about bringing it all together. So you have arranged your annual meeting with your preferred motivator. That's not true, is it? You haven't done that. What happens is they just turn up, don't they? At some point, it's normally the guy you normally deal with, his boss. If they do that, rearrange a meeting. Make sure they understand that this meeting is important to you as it is then. What happens at this meeting typically is they bring you gifts in the form of promotional material from their suppliers, the sort of thing, hats, pens, mugs, a desk. Who still uses a desk? Who knows? You sit around drinking tea, dunking biscuits, and talk about how the trade is doing. Just before they leave, they always ask you if there's anything they can do to help win a bit more custom, which is really the purpose of the call. For most garages, this is just a chance to moan about the wrong parts turning up, the quality of the parts being supplied, etc., etc. The sketch, you've all been there. But ultimately, nothing has changed, and it was all a waste of time for both parties. But your local rep has just ticked off another garage on his long list. However, now, as skilled FBI trained negotiators, this annual ritual presents an opportunity, if you're willing to take it, to get better deals that suit both parties using the leverage of time, price, and terms. So here are some examples using those three levers that we could try with that annual meeting with your motivator. So the first one, time. You will pay within 30 days if your usual terms are 90 days. If, when this is your price, you get an extra discount where possible. And you can negotiate that discount. You could start 5 and see where that takes you. So what you're saying is, instead of paying over 90 days, you will pay over 30 days if you give me a 5% discount. Worth negotiating with, isn't it? If you understand their position, if you start getting into a conversation about how many garages are taking longer to pay and how that's affecting the cash flow of their business, you can say, we're good on cash flow, so we'll pay in 30 days if you give us a bit more discount. Can you see where you've brought common ground and you're using the levers of time and price? Second one, time. You will accept 1 delivery per day. The usual terms are a minimum of 2 deliveries. If, and here's the price, you get the highest percentage discount, even if you may not qualify. So this one is useful if you feel you're not getting the best discount or you don't qualify it because you're not a volume user of that motive. What you're going to say you're going to do is you will accept only 1 delivery a day if the terms are the minimum of 2 deliveries, if you get the highest percentage discount. Once again, it's worth negotiating. If sending a van out to you twice a day is burdensome for your motive, this could be a good deal. If you're the sort of business that plans ahead and knows the majority of parts you need ahead of time, this shouldn't prove too problematic. Once again, remember, if your customer that you're dealing with at that point is price sensitive, you may need to pay more for your parts to get more than 1 delivery or more than 2 deliveries a day. Think about price. This is the third example. You're willing to pay more for more deliveries, time and terms. So that's the opposite of what we just said. So 4, time. You are willing to accept next day deliveries if you're only ever offered OEM or tier 1 products terms. So you're willing to accept that things will take longer because the stuff that's typically on the shelf may not always be available to you. So when you phone up, you're never going to be offered the cheaper alternatives. You only want OEM or tier 1 products offered to you. That's your terms that you can deal with then. But you are, in exchange for that, you're willing to accept a later delivery. Next day, instead of the same, when you're only offered OEM or tier 1 products. And then finally, price. Agree a reduced warranty labor rate based on a higher percentage discount terms. This one often makes people think, do you know what the agreed warranty labor rate is? That they're your terms right now? Or do you find that out when you make a claim? And often it's a lot lower than the labor rate you charge. and you think that's unfair. But is it? Think about it. Is it? Now, I'm not going to get into that discussion here. It's something to think about. But why don't you say, if we ever need to do a warranty claim, yeah, we'll accept a much lower labor rate if you give us a higher discount. Once again, have the discussion, work on the empathy. Yep. Looking at where there's tactical empathy, mirror their position and get the that's right breakthrough and see what you can go. They're just 5 examples that when dealing with your motor factor, remember that conversation happens around the country at least once a year. It's often, like I say, just a chance to everyone to sit down, drink tea, dunk their biscuits, and basically moan about the trade. Why don't we turn that particular occasion around by when they turn up out of the blue, ask them to book a meeting, put it in the diary, come up with some plans, use your FBI trained negotiation skills, and see if you can use the three levers of time, price, and terms to get yourself a better deal. So what's the atomic success for this week? Pick a customer or a supplier, one you have a strong relationship with, and see if you can negotiate a better deal. Small changes at first, build up to what you want. Remember, it's always a two-way street. Try and find that tactical empathy, mirror their position, and get that right out of them before using the 3 levers of time, price, and terms to come to a better arrangement than the current one for both parties. If I've made you think a little bit about how you negotiate better deals for your business, then I've done my job. Thanks for listening.